Good day and welcome to EMTV. In this episode, art reporter Sabina will take us to the charcoal drawing of a sportman in Erasmus building. And Julia visits students who make delicious spring rolls, and in the light of the International Women's Day, she asks students about their favorite female lecturer. And talking about International Women's Day, joining via Teams is researcher Daphne van Helden. She has been researching the career paths of female academics at Erasmus University. Hello, Daphne, welcome.
Yeah, hi.
Hi, you are researching obstacles for women to be a full professor. Can you tell us what obstacles they face?
So maybe it's good to give a short introduction about the research, because indeed since 2019 I'm studying academic careers, and the particular focus in my research is on exploring the career dynamics mid-career academics encounter in navigating their career. And we do so from a gender perspective, as it is important as ever if we look at the numerical differences between men and women in academic management positions. So yes, in my PhD research, we wanted to learn more about what to do in terms of minding the gender gap in academic leadership position. Yeah, and that's why we started our PhD research, and we took if I can say it like that, a novel approach by following a cohort of academics over time. So I interviewed a cohort of 75 mid-career academics, men and women from various academic disciplines. So that we could make a comparison between men and women, and not only looking into the experiences of women, and that we could look into how they progress their career over time. So compare men and women, but also individual changes over time. One of the main takeaways of the research is that there is a diversity of academic career paths that leads to the position of mid-career academic. And an important, reason or obstacle or motivator in this sense is the role of career shocks. So career shocks are accidental, extraordinary events that are caused by things outside of an individual. And these shocks are very crucial for career steps.
Can you give us an example of the career shock?
Yeah, maybe it's too abstract right now, but for example, a shock such as experiencing chronic illness that may prompt academics to rethink how they can continue with their career. Yeah. But another example is the shock of a change of a person in a leadership position. And this was a very crucial shock in many careers. So on the one hand, it can be a stimulus for career advancement. For example, if a supervisor has another or a broader view on talent, I need to say. But in some cases, it was also detrimental because career-related decisions were delayed or postponed, I need to say. So career shocks have a lot of impact on these career tracks. And the focus is on gender right now because it's International Women's Day. And we found that there was hardly any difference between men and women in the number of shocks. But we found that there was a gap between the type of support they experienced in dealing with these shocks. Yeah. And also women experience more negative consequences, career-related consequences, I need to say.
Maybe this is one of the career shocks was COVID during your research.
Exactly.
You said that women, female academics, they were positively affected by COVID. Can you tell us how?
Yeah, so it's not that all women were positively affected by COVID, but maybe it's good to mention that, so COVID is a very clear example of a career shock. One of the things that women mention, but also some men, I need to say, is that, COVID they talked about it, that it was not a gift for them, but it was a huge point of peace, if I can say it like that, because they mentioned that at work they are very pushed and forced to work in a certain way, and they are also trained to give themselves more tasks and to overload themselves with all kinds of activities. And then COVID came and it took many of those things away. So that can be seen as a very positive implication of a shock. But on the other hand, there was, for many female but also men academics, there was the situation of an inverted U curve, so like this. So in the beginning they mentioned many positive implications, but at some point in time there was an inversion in their experiences because they needed to catch up with the work. So there was more work to do, less time to rest. And then we noticed some gender differences, that in particular women academics, they had issues with the boundaries between work and private life. And then men, they talked more about they were able to work the fixed hours, their contract hours, although they needed to change a bit in the times that they were at work. While female academics, well, they were, in general, there was less time for them to spend on their work. And in particular, it was the case also for academics with, how do I call that in English, less safety nets. A limited safety net. So I mean that academics who have little or no family or social support to fall back on, which is also the case for many international scholars. So that is what I mentioned before. Here, if we look at COVID as career shock, it's not only gender-related differences, but here's also the intersection with other identifiers important to take into account.
Yeah, and the reason of your research back in 2019 was because the number of female professors was lagging for years. And now, according to the monitor, the UR has already reached its target of 20% female professors in 2025. So are we now where we want to be?
Well, let's start with the positive news here, I guess. So the number of female professors, well, it has indeed increased, and that's very good news. But there is more, slightly less positive news, that the growth rate per year, it's also declining if we look at the current numbers. And I'm a bit, not say nervous, but I do not feel very secure that when the attention is going away on the topic of gender and careers, that we will tackle this gender gap in the coming years. So I want to emphasize that we need to remain critical on the gender balance in professorships and not assume that it will happen automatically or organically. And also, if I come back to positive things, in a couple of years, many male white professors, they will retire. And I believe this is a great moment to critically look at promotion practices and criteria, and to be attentive to the diversity of academic talent that we have in academia.
Yeah. And okay, so let's keep monitoring the number closely in the coming years. Fortunately, there are already lots of talented female academics around the UR, and our reporter Julia asked students who their favorite female lecturer is.
Happy birthday, Constanze, and happy International Women's Day.
Did you know that only 25% of professors at Erasmus University are female? Let's ask students which female professors inspire them and why. Do you have in mind any female professor at uni who inspires you?
Yes, Constance Binde. She's very inspiring.
So we actually did not get any female professors. Now that I do think about it, it's actually a bit sad.
We only had one. And personally, I didn't really click with her.
Actually, in my own school, I think almost every female professor in the school inspires me, because I think they're all really smart. They're brilliant. They work tremendously hard to get to the place that they are. So I think A lot, a lot.
What makes her so special?
She's a very admirable person insofar as she has a very sharp mind.
She always walked around in class, like in the lecture, and then actually came up to students to ask them out questions, and not only stood in the front and waited for someone to raise their hand.
Her whole experience in general, I guess, because it's inspiring to see a woman succeed and have like leadership roles, especially like wanting to get there. It makes you discover like your new potential.
They shared a certain way of thinking that I never had before.
She actually showed a lot of interest in us as students, as a person, and not so much as a number.
I go to class with a different purpose now.
So I think that this new approach of like professors that are a little bit more closer to the crowd, to the students, doesn't see them as numbers, something that I can recognize in this professor.
I had a very difficult year last year. She just told me, no, but you should be proud of yourself for doing what you've done, given the year you've had, and I think that's just kind of academic encouragement, but also just care.
You want representation. You want to see that everybody can be a professor in our university, and everybody should be able to get there if they're smart enough, if they're good enough, if they do the good work. You should be able to be a professor, and I think everybody should be able to see that.
Daphne, some students in the video say they never had a female lecturer or female professors. What do you think when you heard this?
Yeah, well, it's unfortunate to hear this and to see this in the video, and well, it emphasizes the importance of paying attention to this issue of the gender gap in academic leadership, because there are plenty of women graduating at all kinds of disciplines here at Erasmus, but it does not translate into women visible in those academic positions. And it also brings to mind my own bachelor and master experiences, because, well, there were a few female lecturers, but they might not always have been professors, but at least there were women visible in front of the classroom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One professor in the video also said, like, okay, we're open to female professors, and we hope that there are many more female professors, and as long as you work hard, you can achieve it. But it's not true, right? I mean, like, working hard is not, only working hard is not enough to be able to be a professor.
Yeah. So one condition of becoming a professor is, well, having perform well, but it's only one element of becoming a professor. So it's not only a technical aspect of being a good academic, but also more related. So do you have the support? The thing we talked about before in this interview. So having support and having an enabling context or supervisor or department head or other crucial gatekeepers in academia, that's maybe even more important if you look into advancing into the top positions in academia.
Thank you so much, Daphne, for joining us, and good luck with wrapping up your research.
Thank you.
In our art series, Luc Bode from the Art Gallery explains artworks around the campus. This time, reporter Sabina and Luc show us a charcoal drawing made by Belgian artist Rinus van Velde, which hangs in the hallway between the Tail and Erasmus building.
Hey guys, I'm Sabina, and today we are here again with Luc to discover a new piece of art.
This is a big charcoal painting by a Belgian artist named Rinus van Velde. He always works with scenery. He builds sceneries. He had himself depicted as a sports fan. So it's not really necessarily that he is a sports fan, but he's having himself depicted as a sports fan. And what I like about it is that he takes a very everyday thing, like watching a sports match on TV, but he manages to present it as a huge adventure. It's just charcoal on linen, so it's a very basic material. And I like also the fact that you have a small beginning, like watching a match, but also it's in the technique. You have only just some bit of charcoal and you can draw this huge adventure with it. This piece is actually very vulnerable, but since we're not a museum, but the art has to be shown. And it's got a very smooth surface, kind of like velvet. So we decided to show it like it is and not put glass in front of it. It got damaged, so the artist came to kind of restore it. And he came in, walking in, and in one back pocket he had just a bit of charcoal, and the other back pocket just a can of fixative. And I think he just polished for like 5 minutes, sprayed some fixative on it, and he was done. So I really like the fact that you can do large things with very small means.
While Sabina was talking to Luke, reporter Julia visited a student house where they made spring rolls for the students' cookbook.
I don't think we really cook to live. We live to cook.
In this episode, we are in front of Lucia, in the city center of Rotterdam.
We came to study here and we had a mutual friend who was like, I have a friend who studies here too. I think you're really going to like her. We started by cooking together.
Yeah. And then we connected on our first trip to Chinatown. I'm Mohini, I'm 19 years old, I'm half German, half Indian.
I'm Sao. I'm also 19 years old, fully Vietnamese, but born and raised in Germany.
Soll ich es nochmal schneiden? Ist nicht schlimm, dann benutze ich das weiter.
Yeah. Both of us really love exploring around town, try to find the best deals or the best places to get groceries, and that's just Chinatown in Rotterdam. And then, we went to Chinatown, and you could just tell the energies matched really well.
We just browsed all the shops and like ideas came popping to our minds all the time. Every 10 minutes, we have to make this, and then we came up with the list. We collected like very diverse dishes.
I think cooking with someone is the main way to see how well you actually get along. If you can do that, then you could do most things.
We're making Vietnamese summer rolls, and it's basically rice paper with a bunch of ingredients inside rolled up.
Now I pressed all of the moisture out of the tofu. I'm marinating the tofu, so we're doing a really basic sauce, just soy sauce, garlic, and then honey. But we need rice for vermicelli.
Make the peanuts a bit smaller, and they go on top later.
So you can see how beautifully it like soaked up the soy sauce. Look how big this is. I think these are done now. Okay! And then you roll it up like this. Okay, we're done! Woo! Nice.
Thank you all for watching. We will be back with another important topic. And in the meantime, go to erasmusmagazine.nl. Bye-bye.